All right, let's get going, huh? Let's go, gather up. Come on now. All right, fellas, you gotta remember your body is like day-old rice. If it ain't warmed up properly, something real bad can happen, yeah?
Athletes, take your mark, get set. It's time for the Addict to Athlete podcast. Everybody out there, Coach Blue Robinson here. I want to thank you all so much for downloading, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast. Greatly appreciate you doing so. Hey, before we get going into today's podcast, I want to give a sensitive listener warning. We're going to be taking an excerpt from the This American Life podcast, specifically Mary Harris, who interviewed today's guest on their podcast not too long ago. It was this podcast I was listening to that made me want to interview today's guest, and I think it's super important you listen to why. Listen carefully with your open heart, because today's guest is absolutely amazing.
Good, how are you?
I'm good. And let me catch your name one more time.
Kimber.
That's what I thought. Okay.
The woman taking this call, her name's Jessie. She's a nurse, and she's taken thousands of these.
All right, let me get my book, Kimber. I've never talked to you before. I'm glad you called. Have you called us before?
No, this is my first time.
Oh.
I just went out of rehab yesterday, and I don't want to use by myself.
Okay. All right. So, what are you going to use, Kimber, and how are you going to use it?
I'm injecting heroin.
Okay.
Probably fentanyl.
Okay.
The hotline is called Never Use Alone. And the idea is, if you're going to inject heroin or do a speedball, something like that, and there's no one around, you can dial them up. Someone will stay on the line. Make sure you're okay. If it seems like you've overdosed, they'll call the paramedics.
All right, let me get some information, okay, baby? All right, give me your callback number in case we get disconnected.
Jessie gets the caller's phone number and address, just in case she has to call the ambulance. The caller, Kimber, is in Massachusetts. Jessie is down in Georgia.
You got your door unlocked?
Let me check. Hold on. Yeah, it's unlocked now.
Okay. So make sure I'm on speakerphone.
Yep.
All right. You're by yourself in your home, in your apartment?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have Narcan?
I do.
Set it out for me.
Okay.
And if you've got anything else extra that you don't need to do your job, if you just picked up, if you got some extra rigs, put away anything you don't need, okay?
Okay.
Because God forbid I have to call the ambulance. They'll take your shit when they leave, and I don't want them to do that.
Okay. Hold on, let me put everything away then in the bathroom. There's like a bunch of stuff out.
Yeah, just like close the door, or whatever. Just don't leave it right where you're at. How long have you been abstinent?
About a month.
Okay. So you know your tolerance is in the dirt, right, baby?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll stay on the phone with you. If you want to do points at a time or half a point at a time, we'll take it as slow as you want. If you would feel better video chatting me, we can do a Jitsi or something, okay?
That's okay.
Okay.
So you can hear, like in the beginning, I'm upbeat. I'm happy to talk to her.
I spoke with Jessie, the nurse.
But you hear my voice change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is that?
She was speaking with some speed, with some urgency. I knew she wasn't going to be careful. My mama spirit kicked in immediately. It's a sixth sense that you develop when you do these calls.
When you can say, she's not like connecting with you. She's like, just, I'm here to get this done.
She was there to do a job.
So all I ask you to do is you let me know as soon as you push your first dose. You let me know that you're done.
Well, I have to hold my breath for a second because I have to do it in my neck. So
okay.
I'm not going to be speaking for a second, but I'll let you know.
So
her neck.
Mm-hmm. She's going in. You can inject in your external jugular vein, but to do that, you have to hold your breath.
Is that because you do that when your other veins are blown out?
Mm-hmm.
You're using terminology I don't understand, like half a point, a point. What does that mean?
When they hopefully weigh their dope, hopefully when you weigh your dope out, they're using a scale and they measure it out in grams. 0.1 is zero is a tenth of a gram. 0.2, I mean, that's, drug user lingo for we'll nickel and dime it right on in there.
Small doses are one way to try to stay safe when you're using a drug like heroin or fentanyl. But the truth is, you really have no idea what you're getting if you're buying drugs off the street.
I said I just need a second because I got to find a vein.
That's fine. We're in no rush.
I just have really bad eyes, so it's like really hard to do.
Oh, God. Lord, yeah.
But like all the veins on my arms are like shot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pushing it in.
All right. Slow and easy, baby.
All right, I'm pushing and I'm letting the tourniquet go.
Okay, baby.
Okay, I think I'm okay. I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to stay on the phone for about 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
And then if you want to do more, then you can do a little bit more, okay?
All right.
Sometimes a person will call in wanting to talk. With her regulars, Jessie knows the names of their pets, keeps track of their birthdays. But her main job is just to stay on the line and check in every now and then. For this call, she was sitting at her kitchen table. Her husband walks in at some point for help with a Ziploc bag. But every minute or so, she's trying to get a read on Kimber.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 60 seconds later, Jessie checks in again.
You okay, honey? Kimber? 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 Kimber, I'm going to call your name about one more time, and I'm calling an ambulance. Kimber. Kimber? You better answer me. Kimber.
What are you thinking in this moment?
I'm hoping that she just walked away from the phone. I try to give them 30 seconds. 30 of the longest seconds of your life. I try to give them 30 seconds to, oh, shit, I'm sorry, I walked away from the phone. Or my earbuds disconnected, or I hit the mute by accident, or, that's what I try to do. 30 seconds.
North Adams Public Safety, this line's recorded.
1251 from Northern 911, transferring a operator from the Overdose Prevention Crisis Line, requesting ambulance in North Adams, Massachusetts. I have the address of apartment 1 upstairs.
What's the nature of the request?
The caller became unresponsive while on the line with me.
Okay. Do you have any reason to believe they may have taken any narcotics?
We're an overdose crisis line, so it's possible.
Okay, ma'am. Can you give me any specifics in terms of the age of the potential patient?
It's a female. Her first name's Kimber. Kimber.
Okay, we're going to get help en route, ma'am. If you happen to get them back on the line or get anything further, please call us right back, okay?
Okay, yeah, I've got the calls merged in. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear anything in the background, ma'am?
No,
I'm picking
no.
anything up on my end.
No, let me
Okay.
call her name. Let me call her name again. Kimber, baby, answer me. Kimber? No.
Okay, I'm going to get multiple agencies en route to assist, okay?
Okay, her front door's unlocked.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
All right, okay.
Bye.
Kimber, baby, I got you some help coming.
Jessie stays on the line. And then after a little while, you can faintly hear in the background over the phone someone shouting, "Anybody home?" The ambulance got there just 3.5 minutes after Jessie disconnected from 911.
Athletes, I'm excited today. I've got an amazing guest, one that I'm almost nervous to talk to. I'll tell you, I've interviewed professional athletes and professionals in this field. But when I heard this individual's story and the things that she's participating in and the stuff she's doing on the front line on This American Life's podcast episode 809, entitled The Call, I was blown away. I very rarely listen to podcasts more than once, but this one's been on heavy rotation. And every time I listen to it, as now, I get emotional. Jessie Blanchard, thank you so much for taking some time out on your day off. Like, that's amazing to talk with us here on Team Addict to Athlete. Would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit? Tell a little bit about your background professionally, and then let's jump into the work you're doing on the front lines that I think are the unsung heroes of the recovery world. So thank you so much, Jessie. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Jessie Blanchard. Most people call me Jessie B. I am a nurse. I'm a mama. I teach collegiately. I'm the founder of a little organization here in Southwest Georgia called 229 Safer Living Access. We are a grassroots, underground, 100% self-funded organization. And then in my spare time, I take hotline calls for an organization out of Boston, Massachusetts called Safe Spot. It was formerly the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Hotline. Get to talk to people who are in active use, actively using a substance at that time, and we keep them alive. And, well, we call people if they become unresponsive. The people that call the line keep themselves alive. But anyway, that's all. That's it. Just,
That's all.
Little stuff here. Just a little stuff here and there. Nothing major.
My heavens. Jessie, let me jump into this and really, because I'm so excited to chat with you. So listeners, I'm going to attach the podcast to these listener notes. So please listen to that one first and then come back to this one. It'll give you a deeper understanding on what Jessica's talking about and what she's doing. But to jump into this, my first understanding, from the very get-go of that podcast was with, I think her name was Kimber, and she had called your hotline. You happened to answer. And first off, like, as a mental health therapist and a coach to a team, I get a lot of phone calls. And I'll tell you, I don't think they even measure in comparison to what you do with circumstances that are so high. Kimber was an individual who was in active use, called the hotline, which I think is amazing, to be honest with you. I have given hotline numbers out, but I didn't really understand who used these, because it's almost like we've created a world in this industry of recovery that it's such a shame-based thing. And to have someone have the courage to call a complete stranger to say, hey, I need a little backup here just in case, I don't think we give them enough credit for reaching out for help. Jess, that's the hardest thing for a person in recovery, an addict, to do, is to reach out and call for help. When you receive these phone calls, you've got to be able to feel that magnitude of courage that they have to ask a complete stranger for help. Do you hear that through the messages and through the calls that you take?
And that's the thing. People call these lines. We have to stop and think about this. People who call me, who call the hotline, who call whatever, people who call a 1-800 number are people who have been shamed or shunned by their loved ones, by their family members, by their peers. Maybe they've done some shiesty stuff. Maybe their family members have had to set some real hard boundaries. And I get that, but these are folks that ain't got nobody left. And the weight of that, every single time I speak to a new caller especially, is just like, dang, and it's an honor to get that person on the line and to know that I get to experience their bravery firsthand. It's an honor,
Yeah. Oh, you give me cold chills, the bravery. And see, mainstream society would look at this as a weakness, and, like, one less, who cares? I can't sleep at night with that kind of rattling in my head. You're right. The courage that it takes, the honor and respect that they have to a degree of life. I think people identify addicts very differently than you and I do, and hopefully more people will get the message of this. What I've seen in the last 20 years, Jess, is that people that have addictions have huge hearts, and that means they feel deeper, they carry more pain. They're willing to take the pain of themselves, their others, their friends, their families, because they don't want them to carry it. And so when I see someone in active addiction, I look at their heart and say, these guys want to carry everyone's pain. And then they end up buckling. How in the world would we shun somebody for having that kind of a pursuit of trying to make the world better, so to speak, by carrying people's pain? I think their hearts are too big. The problem, though, is society looks at them as the thieves, the cheats, the lowlifes, and that's not the case. Your approach that I love when you took Kimber's call, and from what I gathered, that was her first call with you. When you called her name over and over to see if she was okay, I broke down in tears, because how many parents have probably walked into their child's room or something, called their name and didn't respond? And I thought, how in the world, Jessie, do you do this day in and day out with such compassion, such fortitude, such respect? Because people would look at this as a dead end. You don't. You see a future in this kind of stuff and helping these folks. Tell me a little bit about those kind of episodes, because I'm sure not every one of them end on you calling EMS, but this one did. And I'm thinking, thank God you did. Like, amazing. What's that like?
We've estimated, me and Stephen Murray, who's the paramedic in the call, who's actually my very best friend. He and I have been at this since the very beginning together. We've estimated that I've taken close to 7,000 hotline calls personally. I've only activated EMS 47 times. Okay. So out of almost 7,000 calls, I've only called EMS 47 times. But that's 47 people who would be dead right now if they had not had the courage and the bravery to call the 800 number, Kimber included. My daughter is actually, right now, my daughter, KB, is in a period of abstinence, 27 months abstinence.
Amazing.
27 months. And if you ask her why, what happened, my baby's overdosed 13 times, okay?
Wow.
If you ask her what made her stop, she's going to shrug, and she's going to say, I think Mama just kept me alive long enough for me to get sick of it. Now think about that. This youngin says, my mama kept me alive long enough for me to get sick of it. People change when change makes sense to them and they are ready. We just got to love them and help them stay alive so that they're alive to choose whatever they want. Now, if she wanted to continue to use, that would be her choice. She would be alive to do so. But the day she decided to kick, she was alive to do so. It ain't hard, my friend. It ain't hard. This ain't hard.
But see, that's the thing, the power of choice. They get to choose. And we take that away, the basic human, ability to choose what they want. If we take that away and force it, exactly. And I love this. You probably will appreciate this too. And I want your thoughts on it. I teach a lot of the athletes and the folks in recovery that I work with that, they don't want security in life. They don't want job security, financial security, although it sounds great. But what happens, where does it end when you reach maximum security? Because that's like prison, right? Freedom, on the other hand, financial freedom, job freedom, that's where it's at. But freedom with somebody that's in addiction or recovery can be a scary thing, but at least it's there for them to take. That's why I loved your no judgment kind of like pursuit, that if they want to choose to do this, I'll love them anyway. I'll love them even if and because of who they are, not because of what they're doing. It's hard for individuals, yourself included, I would imagine, to seriously separate the, I really want them to live, so I'm going to force them, versus I'm going to give them all I got, but it's their choice at the end. How did you surrender that in your own life to be like, I'm not going to choose for you, but I'm going to love you while you make these choices, even if and because of who you are and what you're doing.
When I tried to impose my will and my wishes on my baby, she withdrew from me. She would change her phone number. She wouldn't be available to see me. I couldn't find her. I mean, I rode for hours every day just to catch a glimpse of her walking on the side of the road. And it's because every time she saw me, I was giving her the third degree. I was giving her the business. I was running her up the pole. You know, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I wouldn't want to listen to that crap, you know? So when I realized that she was avoiding me, okay, why? Well, because every time I talk to her, I make her feel worse than she already feels. She already feels like crap. She already feels so bad about the situation she's in. Why have I got to compound that? I don't. She just wants to feel loved and feel okay. Well, you know what? I can do that. I don't have to agree. I bet, you know what? You love me and I love you. But I bet that there is something that you do that I would go, what? Coach, what are you doing? Have you lost her? I bet there's something that I do that you would say the same thing about.
Right. Absolutely. But that's the thing.
We don't have to, I don't have to like the things that you do to love you. As long as the things that you do don't get if I perceive what you're doing as messy, just don't get your mess on me.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
Absolutely. What a beautiful gift.
But I don't have to like everything you do to love you. Because you're not going to like everything I do if you really stripped it all down.
I think you're spot on. I think it's that choice that we get to make. We get to choose to love or not love you, and that's a hard one. And that's why I think it's.
But it ain't hard. I want you to
go ahead.
I can choose to love you, or I can choose to hate you. You know what? We choose to be angry at people. We choose to be hurt at people. We choose to feel negative about them. It don't take any more effort to feel positive.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And it's a conscious choice to love and to allow yourself to be loved. I mean, that is a big deal. I'm so glad that you said that. And I think sometimes we do misconstrue that, because I think that the reason we get in these situations as parents or as loved ones or friends or family is because we love them so much that we don't want to see harm come to them. And we don't know how to express it to them. So we get angry and we get mad and we put these things out like, I'll force you to show you how much I love you. It's like grabbing a fistful of sand on the beach and just squeezing it, trying to take it all home, right? But if you squeeze a fistful of sand, you're going to lose it. In order to carry it, you have to be soft and gentle, and you'll lose some, but you'll keep the mass. And I think that's a good representation of what it looks like, is you've got to be able to love without trying to force it on them. Because even your daughter, like you talked about in the American Life podcast, like you didn't know if she was going to choose this or not. And by the grace of God, she's now got this much time under her belt because she's chosen it. And she's the one that made those decisions. And I think the relationship gets stronger because, she did it with just you loving her. I think we don't give them enough credit either when they make these choices to move forward. You're absolutely right. But that's you taking calls all day. Like, you didn't sound, and I don't know how many calls you took on the podcast before Kimber called that day. But the way that you approached that was like it was your own daughter. Hey, how are you? Like your approach to this was not like there was not an ounce or one inkling of disrespect, of anger or frustration. Like your approach. How do you do that? How do you bring that true self to every phone call? Because anything, this, especially on the phone, you can't see body language. You can't really feel tone. Anything could get them to hang up on you. I am so blown away that each call you approach it like that. Is that just become a way of being for you, just to bring your whole heart? Because that means you are expending a incredible amount of your emotional energy into these folks. And it's felt, Jessie. It is felt. How is that for you every day?
Well, some days we have to take breaks. I haven't taken a hotline call in almost 2 months. Because self-care is so important. Self-care is so important. I can't, if we're on an airplane and it's going down, what's the very first thing on that card? Put your oxygen mask on first. I can't help you until I'm solid in helping myself. And that's important.
But, I'll probably pick back up, Sunday, because the holidays are the worst times of the year for many people. And I want to be there for folks if I can be, and I'm rested up, and I think I can. If you answer the phone and you treat everybody like you would want to be treated when you were in that situation, you can't mess up. And if you put the needs of the person calling the line first and foremost, it doesn't matter what I need or what I want or what I wish. That person's calling the line because they don't want to die. That's it. That's it. And I don't want them to die. So our mutual ground is established immediately. We both got the same goal. And once we're there, we just, I don't know. You're asking me to explain why water is wet.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
I'm who I am. I'm who I am because this is simply who I am.
Love it.
I don't think this can be, and it's not.
I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just loving people the way they tell me they want to be loved.
Wow. But can that be taught? Because that's what I want. I mean, man, I'm getting emotional with you. That's what I want, because we see these folks as different. We see them as needing the relationship, needing the connection, that they're not getting somewhere, obviously. And so if we can give them some of our heart, and that's why I'm so glad you talked about self-care, then that means they have someone, even if it's a voice on the end of the line and we don't see them or can touch them, they can still feel it. Can it be taught? Can it be taught? Because your degree of empathy is amazing. I only heard you give one critical offering of advice when you were talking to Kimber and on the recording. You could have done more. But the one thing you said when she called you back after the fact, she said, I think I want to use again. And you said, well, having just experienced what you did, that could probably be harmful. That was the only critical thing I heard you say, but it was truth. You were saying, I love you enough to give you this little piece. Don't take it as you're going to do it again. You're going to die. It was, be careful. And it was so subtle and so beautiful that to me, I'm thinking that's where the heart is. It's like for you to be able to give that little piece of like, Kimber, be careful. I'm blown away by that. Can empathy be taught? Can it be shared to someone that can rise theirs up? Do you think every human that has the ability to love and be loved carry a sense of empathy, or do you feel like it's very unique to some folks?
I do. I think that we all have, unless you're a psychopath, I think that we all have a marginal degree of empathy, at least. I don't think we have to teach people how to be empathetic. I think we have to teach people how to not be selfish. That's the thing. I have to be able to put my wanting for you aside and listen to what you want for you. Even if I think it's craziness, even if I think it's madness, even if I think it's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, I have to be able to put that aside, those feelings, because it doesn't matter. And if you trust me enough to tell me your crazy ideas or share your crazy dreams with me, if you trust me that much, I have to see the gift of that. And not, you and I are two different people. There's no way that I should ever try to impose what I think is right or wrong, or what I think should or shouldn't be done onto you, because we're different people, and what works for me is not going to work for you. You start using drugs because of reasons. I start using drugs because of reasons. Those may be totally different reasons. Stands to think that if I start for a different reason, I'm going to stop a different way. The thing that works for me isn't going to
be the thing that works for you. We didn't start the same way for the same reasons. We can't stop the same way for the same reasons.
Listeners, I hope you hear that. Jess, that's why I created Addict to Athlete. As a therapist, I noticed that my clients that I was working for a government agency, government funded program, and they required them to go to 3 meetings outside of, traditional, treatment, day treatment. And I caught some of my group members forging their 12-step sign-off sheets. Like, how dare them, right? Like, and they got real with me. They said, Coach, back then it was blue. These don't work for us, but this is all we have. And I was taught, that if I see a problem in my community, it's my responsibility to fill it. And so I knew what worked for my own recovery, which was moving, recreation, getting outside, finding God in the mountains and on the trails. And so I thought, well, maybe we can try this. But if we're going to do this, like, there's some things that I don't really agree with now, but I respect, which is that sense of anonymity. Like in 2024 and back then in 2011, when I first started the team, anonymity was starting to kill people. They were staying way too quiet. And so no one knew. And so I thought, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, in fact, you have the power to inspire so many people. Your mess can become your message if you'll show yourself, because everyone has someone in their family that struggles with this. Over the years, you've seen this. I mean, you've been firsthand on the front lines. We've had a significant increase of substance use, of overdose, of deaths of these nature. And it always strikes me odd, Jessica, and I want your thoughts of this, Jessie. I want your thoughts of this. If a plane crashes, right? If a plane crashes somewhere, the government comes out, they grab every piece of that plane, and they create what's called like the root cause analysis, right? They put this plane back together, every bolt, every wire, and they find the exact lug nut or wire that was crossed that caused the accident. We're losing that many people every day in America, and we still haven't discovered the root cause. No one's putting this back together. What are your thoughts on the people that you're coming in contact with? There's a theme to this, and I've seen the theme too. And it has to do with these connections, these real connections that people make that love. What would you say that you kind of notice could be a root cause of some of these folks that are just hurting alone, that aren't asking for help? What's the theme or the golden thread that you've been seeing that's kind of common through so many people? I mean, each one's different, but there's a theme to some of this.
They're all so different, and the root cause is it's different for every single person, and we have to stop and we have to ask. When we get into adulthood, for the community that I'm in, so I have a belief. I believe that there are people that call the hotline, so many of those people are not people with substance use disorder. Okay. I think that's important for you to know. A lot of people that call the hotline are just weekend warriors. They went and picked up some coke. They went and picked up some meth. They they've got finals coming up. They bought a pill off of a buddy on campus. And these are not people who use substances daily or that are dependent on them. They're one-offs. They like to party every now and then. They'll have a weekend, a binge, and then they'll get everything back on track and they'll go. That's a lot of who call the hotlines. Okay. So let's know that not everyone that uses a drug has substance use disorder. All right. Now, so some people may become dependent because they had a buddy that did it. They started doing it with them. It felt great. It felt good. They realized when they did opiates, they didn't want to kill themselves, which was my experience. Opiates made me not have suicidal ideations. For a lot of people, that's true. So for sure. So when I discovered that, I kept using them, and that's how I became dependent. Okay. Some people with undiagnosed ADHD or ADD who can't get on, the Vyvanse or whatever it is that they need, will turn to methamphetamine, right? Because it slows that down in their brain. All right. So people's got reasons. Now, those reasons are perhaps lack of health care, whatever. Now we've moved into adulthood and we're living out of pay by the day hotel rooms, or we're couch surfing or whatever. All right. We look at Maslow's triangle, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Always look at the bottom. Always look at the bottom. What's missing in the bottom? For us here, it's housing. Because if I had to live in Southwest Georgia in July and August and September, when it's 107 degrees with a 98% humidity, I'd want to be high too.
So, we have to, so it's so much of it's housing. I firmly believe that if we can get people stably housed, a lot of other pieces start to fall in. It's hard. It's hard to change when you don't believe you have anything to change for.
But that's the thing. That's why these relationships are so flippin' important, right? Like to love somebody unconditionally, even if and because of who they are, like to love them and to help them. I mean,
All right.
if
So here's
more,
this.
if
So here's this. I
go,
didn't mean to cut you off, but
yes,
here's this. All right.
no, you're
We
fine.
we had a participant that showed up at outreach one day. We were talking. He had on a pair of tennis shoes. They were they were Nikes. They were bright orange. They were the brightest, the pretty fluorescent orange. I said, those are nice. Like, I love that color. He's like, yeah, but this ain't what I need. Tell me, talk about it. What you got running? Let's go. He said, I need some boots. I said, boots, all right. I said, what you got going on? He said, I got offered a job. He said, I got offered a job on a landscaping crew. He said, but the boss man won't let me go to work until I get some boots. I said, what size boots you wear? 11. Well, I text my partner. I said, call me. He calls me. Hello. I said, you wear size 11, don't you? He said, I do. He works at a job where they get a stipend for 2 new pair of work boots every year. He don't go, I mean, he gets the boots because he has to. He must have 10 pair of size 11, like Georgia boots and nice composite toe boots. And I'm like, I said, I need a pair of boots. He said, when? I said, now. He said, well, give one of your outreach volunteers keys to the house and tell them to go in the closet and call me, and I'll tell them which ones to get. So little Jasmine gets my keys. She runs to my house. She calls him. She comes back with the boots. We give the guy the boots. This guy's overjoyed. All right. I don't see him the next week. I don't see him the next week. I don't see him. I lose track of him. About 4 months later, I hear, hey, from down the road. I look up, and it's him in the company vehicle buying his crew lunch at the hot dog stand down the road. He's got a full-time job running his own crew now. Got an apartment. Reunited with his wife and children. He needed a pair of boots. He no longer uses substances. He had to have something to work for. He had to have something to, he had no reason to stop smoking crack until he got a pair of boots. I asked him what he needed. I
love that. And you listened and you problem solved with great minds. You didn't do it alone. You said, hey, I think I might know somebody. That somebody knew about something that was had. Can you imagine how different this place would be if we all kind of like supported each other in that kind of way? Like everyone knows someone that knows something about whatever it is we're pursuing. Why do we think we screw that up so much? Do we think that we have to do it ourselves? Is that why you think like sometimes family systems, especially here in Utah, we have a big problem with people trying to keep stuff so secret because of, what the neighbors are going to think or whatnot, because of, some ideations here. So no one talks about this. So no one knows what the needs are. But for someone to come out and say, this is what I need, and for you to identify like, well, then what is this? Problem solve it to a solution. Look what happens. Why do you think so many families and societies and cultures here to try to do things alone? What do you think they're worried about?
Well, part of what you said, families, we don't talk about what happens in this family out in the streets, that whole mentality, because embarrassment, we can't let the ladies, we can't let the women's missions on Wednesday that we go to, we can't let them know that our baby's got this problem or that problem. But then two, I have a cat walking in, and then two, a lot of it is personal pride and that idea that we've got to be the savior. We've got to be the savior. And if if I can't fix your problem, I'm going to gatekeep your problem because I don't want Joe over here to be able to do something for you that I couldn't do.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to, not only am I'm going to gatekeep I'm going to gatekeep your problem, because if I can't solve it, nobody else is going to get that glory. That's another thing that we have to be really careful about when we're working with people, I think. I hate the word help. The word help. If I helped him do this, I helped him do that. Well, that puts me in a place of superiority. It puts me in a place of saviorship. It puts you in a place of, maybe, well, what am I trying to say? Like you owe me something now. You couldn't have done this on your own. I'm in a place of power and you're in a place of weakness. All right. So I don't like to say help, because what I've learned is that the people in my community, they do not need my help. They need access to the resources that are already here. They don't need my help. They don't need my help. They need my friendship. They need my consistency. They need me to be available. They need me to be someone that they know they can trust, because I've already told you, people change when it makes sense to them and they are ready. When the people in my community wake up and go, yeah, I'm tired, I'm ready to do something different today, and they look around, who are they going to tell that to? Me. Because I show up every week, me and the team. It ain't just me and my team. We show up every single week and we make ourselves available to listen. We love, we kiss, we hug, we dance, we sing, we cuss, we cry, we listen. And when they tell us something, whatever, we say. My team doesn't say the word help. We do not, that word's not allowed. We say, all right, do you see me playing any part in you making that happen for yourself?
I love that. I've never heard it discussed like that. Not one time in my 22 years of being a therapist have I ever heard of help being described that way. I'm going to adopt that with you, because you are absolutely spot on. Because even as I'm a therapist and I'm a coach, and I like being called a coach more than a therapist, because the definition's different, even though it's the same, right? A coach helps just move you. Therapist tries to fix you, and you don't need fixing, you need movement. I love the fact that you articulated it that way, just through experience, that yeah, it does, it puts it there.
And you said help. You said a coach helps you move. You don't help me move.
I teach you how.
Listen,
yeah.
but listen, yeah, I mean, really, you teach me how to move. You facilitate my learning. You are available to for me to ask you questions. Yep. Is this the right way to move? Is there a better way to move? Is moving this way going to hurt me?
Cheer for you while you're moving. Yeah.
I don't need you to. I don't need you to help me. I need you to be available. I need to know that I can trust your knowledge. And I need you to love me enough that if you see me moving in a way that you know factually and objectively is going to cause me harm, that you can say, hey, Jessie, if you're open for some feedback, I'd like to talk to you about that movement.
You're spot on. Miss Jessie, I love this. You are absolutely right. And for a coach to cheer them while they're moving, to support them. See what I'm saying, how ingrained that is? I love that definition. And I wish more of us would look at it through those lenses, because then we don't take credit for the success, and we certainly don't take credit for the failure. We simply support during, before, after, and in the middle. I'm blown away by that. See, then that's why I would think for you grew up in the era that I grew up in, which was the tough love or nothing. Right? It's my way or the highway. I remember when I first started doing counseling, that was kind of the mythology of helping someone in the middle. But there you go. it's helping someone see that I'm tough loving you. What if we switched the script? What if we flipped it and said, I'm going to cheer for you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be here for you, even if and because again, and we're going to get you where you want to go when you're ready. I love the fact that we're doing this now. There are some old school folks that want to hang on to that tough love because it's abstinence or nothing. That mentality, I would say, is absolutely dead. What do you think?
Tough love is death. Tough love,
Mm-hmm.
tough love. You know, if you tough love, tough love's not love. First off, tough love is not love. Tough love is cutting people completely off from love, cutting people off from support, from encouragement, from your cheerleaders. Tough love, you got to let them hit rock bottom. I don't know about you, but rock bottom around here is 6 foot in a hole. Rock bottom here is the grave. We don't go to rock bottom. And then here's another thing. What is rock bottom? What is it? My rock bottom is going to be different from yours. So we can't wait on somebody. We've got to wait for them to hit rock bottom. For somebody that has no goals, their family has turned completely against them. They have nothing. When you have nothing to live for, rock bottom is the grave.
And we've seen too many. I've seen way too many hit that rock bottom. And I've seen some people that have hit rock bottom and then start digging more. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't think you were supposed to be able to do that. I thought that was the end.
They give their rock bottom a basement.
Exactly. I love that. You're right. And I think that culture, that society, that mindset, even I was in the world of residential treatment for a while, and I saw the very ugly side of that and didn't want any part of it, because what I noticed was that we weren't really having the impact that we needed because there was still a business factor to it. Now, granted, you got to keep the lights on. You got to keep the professionals that are working there, having a career with income that can help provide so that they can keep doing what they're doing. But it was getting ugly. And what I noticed is that there was a lot less effort on the family system than there was for the person that was seeking the help. And if we put them back into that environment with the family system it's not advancing as fast or as much as the individual is, then they go home, and all of a sudden these people that have gone through the recovery process, that are in now the abstinence phase or the medicated assisted therapy phase, and they start having opinions and thoughts and contributions to the family. The family's like, wait, we wanted you to stop using. We didn't really want you to have an opinion on this kind of stuff. I didn't see it working. What I noticed, especially just with the one experience with Kimber, was when she chose to be done, she also started leaning into her sole purpose. And that to me was mind-blowing, that when we can see the progress and we can support them through it, on the other side, these folks are pre-planned destined for amazing things. How special is it for you to be able to feel start to end like who Kimber specifically became? Because those stories repeat themselves. When it finally sits in, they find their purpose. How beautiful is it for you to kind of like watch them discover their purpose? For those that you get to kind of keep an eye on, because a lot of them you don't, but for the ones that do, what's that like for you when you see them come out the other side with now passion, heart, and love for life?
It's just I'm so proud for them. I'm so happy for them. Just don't die. That'll be great. If you can stay alive, you can do anything you want to do. And to see someone just to start believing themselves again, to believe that even if you screw up, you're not a screw up. And that's, the language we use. You asked me way earlier if something could be taught. When we learn to stop using labels for people, I know with the 12-step thing, you call yourselves addicts or whatever. That's fine. You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I don't subscribe to that, because a label tells me how to wash this sweater or how to get a stain off my couch. A label tells me how to take care of something that can't speak for itself, right? I don't need a label for you. You're a beautiful human being, and you can tell me yourself how I'm supposed to care for you. So you're a person first. An addict, that's a person in active use. That's a person with substance use disorder. That's a person. It's a person. You're not clean. You're not dirty. I've got so much, oh, she's clean from heroin. Well, no, you're clean when you take a bath and brush your teeth. They're in a period of abstinence. When we stop putting labels on things, people aren't as afraid to talk to us about those things. Oh, if I tell her I returned to use, oh, she's going to know I'm dirty. No, if you tell me you've returned to use, you've told me you've returned to use. If you come up to me and tell me that and you hadn't taken a bath and brushed your teeth, you're dirty. But that's a whole different thing. We've got to stop labeling people. We've got to stop with the junkie and the addicts. We've got to, when we start seeing people as people, when we start seeing them as people, then they start feeling like they're people. And when they start feeling like they're people, their little light bulb inside starts popping and sizzling. And when they're a person, when they feel like they have value, because I treat them like they have value, then they start looking up. They pick their head up, they look around. And then when you've got someone in their life that says, if you weren't here, where would you be? Tell me what you wanted to be when you were 12, when you were 10. Tell me. I started to say this and I got derailed by myself because I do that. People start using drugs for different reasons, right? We've talked about that. And some people start using drugs not out of a big place of trauma or grief or whatever. It just happened. But look, the ones that did start using drugs out of trauma or grief or whatever, we have to remember, we focus too much on the drug for one thing, right?
Yeah.
The drug's the Band-Aid.
Yep.
This person has a hemorrhage. This person is hemorrhaging somewhere inside their soul.
Internal bleeding, yeah.
And they found, massive, major internal bleeding. And they have found a Band-Aid, a box of Band-Aids. And they keep slapping these Dollar Tree Band-Aids on this massive hemorrhage in their soul, right? So, but we're going to focus on these Band-Aids. You got the wrong Band-Aids. You got the wrong kind of Band-Aids. You're buying them from the wrong place. The Band-Aids, the Band-Aids, the Band-Aids, the Band-Aids. Screw the Band-Aid. Stop looking at the Band-Aids. Let's look at the wound. Let's look at the wound. Where are they hemorrhaging from and why? Let's treat, oh my God, that wound is awful. Let's see what we can do about it. Let's see how we can help you fix it. We get in there and we start working on that wound. The wound maybe starts healing. And as the wound heals, they're going to use less Band-Aids. They're going to not need as many Band-Aids. They're not going to need as big a Band-Aid. They're going to find, maybe the Band-Aids wasn't what worked at all. Maybe they don't need Band-Aids. Maybe Band-Aids, i.e. dope, wasn't really what they thought they needed. They figured out they needed a pressure dressing, i.e. exercise. Or coloring or reading or whatever. But what we do is if we focus on that wound, forget the bandages. Let's focus on treating the wound. One day that person might wake up one day and say, I don't think I need a Band-Aid here today.
I love it. It is eerie how familiar what you're saying is what I teach my athletes and my clients. I say to them sometimes, I'm like, as a therapist, when you come in, you're going to have a wound. And it's going to be full of those Band-Aids that you haven't changed. You just kept stacking them. And guess what? That wound's probably going to be infected. And so when we take it out, and if we have to scrub a little bit, it's going to hurt. Just a little bit. It's going to hurt. And then we'll put fresh on it. And then you come in and next day, we'll unwrap it. We'll scrub it again. And it'll hurt, but a little bit less than it did yesterday. And eventually, it's going to turn into a scar. And when it's a scar, you will forget it was even there until you look at it and you remember it. You're like, oh, I remember where I got that. And you can feel it. You can kind of experience, I know where I got that pain. I remember how bad that hurt. But then you'll forget about it until you touch it again later on. So I am so 100% with you. That labeling aspect, the I am statement, there's no way. I've been clean now since 1996. There's no way I'd walk into any room and say, hello, I'm Blue, I'm an addict. It's a part of me. It's not who I am. That's why our name is what it is.
You've been abstinent since 1996.
1996. Yeah, there's no way.
Because I hope you took a bath.
I
this
did.
morning.
Yeah, after my workout, you betcha.
Clean. I'm clean. You said I've been clean.
Yeah.
But and I know that's the 12-step
streak,
but to say that you're clean implies that you were once
thank
dirty.
you so much, Jessie. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. See how ingrained it is? I teach this stuff and I still have that mindset because that's
You've been abstinent since 1996.
And that's why we have this.
And what a beautiful way to say that.
Absolutely.
When you say, I've been clean since 1996, that's great, but you've been abstinent.
Oh my gosh, I love you. You are so absolutely spot on. And you see?
It brings so much honor. It brings so much honor to your achievement, to your accomplishment. That it's just such a, I don't know, wow, that's a long time.
But that's the thing. That's why I'm so happy to be talking to you. The name, Addict to Athlete, is because I wanted people to leave that behind. You're not an addict anymore. Now you're an athlete. The Roman numeral 2. The Romans, they didn't identify as 0. You can never be less than 1. So as long as you're still here and you start adding, you can build. When it's 2, that's the column system. You can now build on that. So I'm with you 100%. And Jess, you're the first one to ever call Coach Blue out. And I love that so much because you're teaching me how to give myself the credit that I've created, that I've deserved. I don't think about that.
You worked hard. You worked hard. Nobody will ever know how hard you worked to get where you are. And that is something for you to be so proud of. No one took those steps but you. No one could have walked these roads but you, and you did it. And yeah, it's something to be so proud of, as I hear that you are. And what we do, though, we have to remember, you've been abstinent since 1996. You have to make sure that the people in your life are people that, and I'm not, but listen, what if something happened? What if you got another big old wound and needed a bandage? Would these people love you and be just as passionate about you in the same way? And would you feel comfortable going to them and saying, I made a choice that wasn't the best choice for me today, and I'd like to talk to you about it.
I got hurt today. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I teach that too with the trauma threshold. Even though I've had that much, my trauma threshold, and I've talked about this, I said, we all have a breaking point, all of us. And mine 100% was because I love so deeply my children, that what would happen if I lost one of them? What if one of them got injured? What if one of them passed away? My addiction could definitely be reawakened. And so I've had these discussions, but you know what's crazy about that, Miss Jessie, is that I've noticed that there have been people that I've associated with that have experienced my trauma threshold. They've lost their children. And I can speak with them now, and I can say, how, if that ever, God forbid, happens to me, I can now go to them and say, how did you do it? How are you still here? Like, to utilize the people around you. That's the community that needs to be built. All of us experience pain and trauma.
Yep.
If we talk about it and learn from each other, can you imagine what we could learn? I mean, sky's the limit.
But so you know that these people had a complicated relationship with a substance in the past. You know that these people use substances as bandages for wounds in the past. So yes, let's say you had a traumatic event happen, and your first thought is, let me go find my Band-Aids, right? That's the first thing that comes to your mind. I need a Band-Aid. Because we've been open and honest with each other and we know what each other's going through, then you can turn to one of your peers and you can say that. You can say, yes, this terrible thing has happened. I caught myself looking for a Band-Aid. I know once upon a time you were in the same place and looking for Band-Aids. What did you look for instead?
You are an absolutely amazing. And I appreciate you being willing to say, hey, coach, look at it this way, because again, no one does that. And I love the fact that I get to learn. And that's why when I heard your story, when I heard the whole experience with everyone involved, I just knew that your heart beat in a rhythm of wanting to give. And I'm curious, one last thing, because I know we're running out of time. I'm curious, how do the people around you support you? Because you donate a lot of emotional time, physical time, spiritual time to this pursuit. How do the people around you that want your time, because that's the most precious thing we have in this life, I believe, is our time. How do they support you, and how do they kind of keep you with a focus that hey, it's time for some self-care too? Because I know that I could probably spend 24/7 here in this little building helping folks, but there's also other people in my life that need dad, that need the husband, that need the brother, that need a friend. How do the people around you support you in this? Because sometimes we have to sacrifice something for something of greater value. How do you navigate the people around you, and how do they support you?
Well, it goes back to that word help. We are literally a 2 to 3 team organization that supports over 300 people a week in our town. Okay. We have no financial support. Everything comes out of my pocket. And what we've had to do is we had to set boundaries. You can contact us these days, these times for this. We have put together an amazing resource guide for our people here that we love on. We have a Facebook page where if they were to send us a message that they need something, they get auto replies. Chris and Courtney, they're constantly going through and updating the auto reply list. So almost any question that anybody could possibly ask, they get an answer for it. They get not just we'll see you in 2 days. No, if you need this, you contact this number. We're not helping. We're giving them access to the resources that are already here. We're empowering. So by doing that, people are able to take care of themselves. We take care of our family first. We've got very strict boundaries about what happens and where, and that's what keeps us together.
I love it. God, it is such an amazing approach, and refreshing to hear that there are folks out there like you, like the program you've started, that care enough to do the hard work, so that the people that we love, that we provide direction to, have access for them to build on their why. This is why I want this. I am blown away. I could probably talk to you for hours, but you got some self-care to go take care of before all these holidays approach. And Jessie, thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for all that you're doing. I would love to know if there's any socials or anything that you'd like to promote out there, because I would love to connect with you through our nonprofit program, Addict to Athlete, to what you're doing to support you. I have a brother that lives just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, so it's a beautiful place for me, and the people there so kind, so amazing. How do we support you, and how can we kind of keep tabs and kind of assist where we might be beneficial?
Well, the best way, is on Facebook. My organization is 229 Safer, SAFER, Living, LIVING, Access, ACCESS. I'm working on getting a website. That's, these things have not been my priority. So, I've just been out here doing my thing. But Facebook right now, we have an Instagram. We're not as active on it as we probably should be. There's links to donation. There's links to donate on the Facebook page, because we are broke as a joke, but we make it happen.
Yeah. Well, listeners, this is a great resource for folks that need the direction and want the help. I mean, they're the ones that come to you. They're like, we're ready. This is the direction we need. I love it. We'll make sure those are put in there. But Miss Jessie, I thank you so much for being part of the Addict Athlete podcast, and welcome to the Addict Athlete family. Now, I mean, I hate to tell you, but now you're on the team and we're on yours. So anything we can do to push your message forward, we definitely love to be a part of it. But listeners, check these resources out. And if you're in that area, and you have some ideas, get in contact so that we can kind of link these great minds together. You've been well fed, everyone out there. Please do your best as you move forward through your recovery, through your friendships, to make sure you promote aspects and ways that we can get these folks on one team, and that's the human team, and do so by turning your mess into your message.